40-second or 45-second introducing yourself, starting with Candice.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet everyone. So my name is Candice Beaumont. I am CIO of L Investments and also chairman of Salsano Group. It's a family office for Sandro Salsano. He's the number 6 ranked billionaire in Central America. We are both an LP in funds, as well as do direct investing. So really invest across every asset classes, from fixed income to private equity to hedge funds as an LP, and also co-invest with a lot of other family offices, co-invest with a lot of our other GPs. And I sit on the board of numerous NASDAQ companies, a few SPACs, and also very involved in our philanthropy. Sandro and I are both young global leaders of the World Economic Forum in the same class. And I'm a former pro tennis player. So if anyone wants to catch a game of tennis later on the courts out here, let me know. We'll do it.
May I?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Kevin McGovern spoke yesterday, so I don't want to go through too much detail, but we have a family office. We've had a family office for 25 years, which in some counts is actually a long time because many people, we started in 2001. We basically now have really prioritized patented technologies. We take them around the world. We get unlimited amount of deals coming in from really patent lawyers and people. And we've done business in 80 countries. The first deal we ever did, ladies, is you probably know something about alpha hydroxy acids, just like retinols, and we brought them to the world. We brought them to 80 countries, and it was in 40% of all skincare products. So we've done a lot of world category leaders. About 7 have become world category leaders. And we work only with family offices. We do not work with politicians. They come and go. Family offices stick around for many generations around the world, and those are the people that we deal with, such as the people on this panel.
Thank you.
Ron DeVary, the trustee of New Oak Impact Trust, as well as the CEO and founder of New Oak Capital. We are focused on very advanced solutions to regenerative economy. Finance is the fluid for a lot of lubricant for a lot of ideas, but many of the impact projects ultimately need project finance, they need architecture, they need scale-ups. So we are very heavily involved with biomass to fuel, biomass to future products, which are biofutures, industrial, as well as clinical or nutritional. And we work in a very large environment, so we need really a big feed. It started in Vietnam, and then moving to Malaysia and Latin America, and swinging back into US. It's a new thing after going through multiple iterations of funding the structured finance. Ex-executive at BlackRock built the structured finance business pre-credit crisis and wanted to build a new way of financing impactful projects. I'm glad to work with all of you guys who are interested in making big impact.
Thank you. Kaya?
My name is Kyle Offray. I'm a former NFL player. Out of football, I got into venture capital. I used to run the venture capital arm for Comcast. It was their sports venture arm. And now I run my own management consulting firm. We represent 2 family offices, the Cisneros family and the Miller family, and I run and manage their sports portfolios, coming off of our sports private equity fund, which we launched in 2024, and we officially launched that and took that public and went public on March 24th. And so now my full time is representing the sports portfolios for 2 global family offices down in the Caribbean.
Carol, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. Apologies. My name is Carol Pepper. I'm the CEO and founder of Pepper International. For the last 25 years, I've set up very large single-family offices. I built them on 5 continents, and I act as an ongoing CIO to some of these family offices. Also investing in AI, real estate, gold, precious metals, other precious metals, and rare earths. So it's busy and exciting.
Thank you, Carol.
Hey everyone, I'm Mo here. First of all, just want to say absolutely humbled and honored to be part of this panel. I don't know how iconic I am yet, but first generation family office. Background was started as a founder, built my first company at 17, second company at 19, exited by the time I was 20. Got lucky and got into JP Morgan fairly early, was one of the youngest operators at 20, and went into investment banking and management sides. COVID happened soon after, so decided to enroll into a scheme at Harvard, and I ran into a little-known company called OpenAI, where I ended up becoming its first few years operator as well as early investor. Did the same with Bard. Bard is now Google's Gemini, and made a few good investments out of that. Ran out of it to launch my own VC fund. Became the youngest ever fund manager in history of Europe to launch an 8-figure plus fund at 24. Scaled those investments to about 80 million, and with 2 other families, which I knew really well in India, decided to structure our own family office. So now we have our own family office investing in venture, private equity, hedge funds, real estate, private credit, a little bit of everything, and managing over $1 billion now.
Thank you. As you know, our event's called Global Family Office Investment Summit. And in the world, there are about 80 to 90% of the businesses are family offices. So this session here is to exchange idea, knowledge from each other, to come up to the first question, and everybody can have up to 30 seconds and a half. No, give it 60 seconds. So how to make family offices last and preserve their wealth over generation? What do you think the best way? Start with you.
I think as you said before, I mean, a lot of families go shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. I think the key is, I've got to stay under 30 seconds. You just want one bullet? Is that what you want, Hadi? You want one quick thing? So I'd say if it's one thing I would say that you teach the next generation, it's be really conservative with leverage. Because if you look at the families that lost a lot of wealth in, say, 2008 or when cycle turned, they were generally over-leveraged. So I think if you're conservative with your leverage structure, obviously there's a lot of other things, but if you're picking one thing to teach the next gen to maintain wealth, I would say to really be conservative with the leverage structure. When you've got wealth, you want to maintain it by not over leveraging or overextending or signing a personal guarantee. Because I know a few billionaire families where the kids lost everything doing that.
Thank you.
Hadi, don't force the issue. My son and I, we've gone through many iterations. We're now like brothers. We weren't always. And frankly, I learned that let your children take their path a little bit and follow their passions. Because I wanted him to come into our family office early, he sort of pushed away, and he founded his own company, Rise Cold Brew Coffee. It's in 25,000 stores. But he made a lot of mistakes, and in terms of setting it up, structuring it, et cetera. And then he came back in the fold and realized that we really complement each other and we don't compete with each other. My nephew's involved now, et cetera, et cetera. But my real point, Hadi, is be natural to your family. My daughter wants nothing to do with the business, but she knows what's going on. I make sure, at least on a quarterly basis, we meet and have lunch and or dinner and discuss what's happening, what are our issues, et cetera. And frankly, recently, because she's much more liberal than my son and I, we've gotten involved with a lot of things with clean water, plastic replacements. We've got a lot of projects that now my daughter suddenly is coming around and coming into the fold. But we didn't force it, Hadi. We didn't force it, and let them come naturally into what you're doing. And now she's really, really happy that we're doing so many environmental projects, and she's actually sort of coming around to where she wants to participate. But it's a timing issue. And with my daughter, it's 15 years of doing her own thing. She's in the executive suite of Amazon, and now she's thinking about maybe coming back to the family office and working on the projects that suit her the best and fit with her passions. So it's really important. Don't force the issue.
Thank you,
I love both of those answers. I agree 100% with both of them. I would add that there are a lot of studies, for those of you who like academic studies, done by the Wharton Business School over 20 years. And they show that the families that are process-oriented, meaning they have regular meetings, they make sure children are financially literate, they have rules that people follow via a family constitution, those families also make more money and last longer. Because what tends to break up families, as Candace mentioned, first and foremost, over leverage, putting up personal guarantees, and some bad moment in history, your fortune gets wiped out, 100%. Two, the children are so turned off and there's so much tension in the family that they just refuse, or they think you're so miserable running the family office because you don't have process and you are stressed, they don't want to become you. So it has to look enticing because it's organized. It's not a fire drill every single day. I see so many family offices where there is guilt or jealousy or rivalry, and everything is a fire drill every single day, and that is sometimes how the dad controls everybody, by making everything a fire drill. So be process-oriented, you will make more money, and your family will last over multiple generations, and don't let things fester under the surface. If two people hate each other, there's probably a reason for it, and it's got to get out in the open. And if you can't solve it, get a consultant who can help.
Thank you. Ron?
I think you've got to start out what is family, and without knowing that, I think creating a family office is not really that productive. And in my case, that was very easy because we have no heir, and my family is going to be humanity and the people that work with me and are with me. So that was easy. So I need to focus on what is regenerative, meaning that if I'm going to leave a legacy, I need to have mission-driven approach. So it's not about making wealth while I'm alive. It's about, can I make it perpetual? So that's actually one of the reasons I look at what is the most regenerative thing in the world, is actually end up being agriculture, aquaculture, and biomaterial. Even the fossil fuel is really ultimately was initially bio. So with that, I think once I found the wealth in areas such as Vietnam, Malaysia, Cambodia, and they're growing everywhere. So I figured, how can I make a legacy by bringing that into products that we use every day and replace fossil fuel and reduce dependence? That was one area. The second thing I found was, how can I leverage the global groups that are really expert-driven? So I joined as the financing arm of an organization called Urban Economy Forum. If you don't know about it, please study it, because in your smart cities, family is stressed from the cities you live in. And what happens is that the most broken thing right now is municipal governance. So with that, I'll go back. I agree with everybody said you need a foundation, and the foundation is ultimately governance. In order to grow, you need to have governance, and that governance needs to be growth-oriented, and the best player should get the chance to impact it.
To add on to that, I agree completely, is stay in your lane, right? Don't be all things to all people. And the two family offices that I represent right now, one is big in mainly real estate, one is big in real estate and energy, and they brought me and my group in to help lead their sports portfolio, because as much as they love sports and think of it as a trophy asset, they don't know the sports world. They don't understand that market. So they brought my group in to be that for them, versus them trying to figure out and navigate an industry that they don't know and understand. So I'm all for diversifying the portfolio for your family office, but make sure when you go, if you're a real estate and you want to go into tech, or you want to go into energy, or you want to go into another vertical, that you bring in an expert into that vertical, which can obviously help protect the principal, which was the ultimate goal. And so I would just say, as boring as it sounds, make sure with the foundation of your family, whatever that foundation is, make sure you stick true to that. And if you go off into other avenues, don't spread yourself too thin, and bring in the experts or the professionals who know that industry that you're also interested in.
I think everything that's been mentioned so far has been fairly accurate. But I think I would probably then try and say this from a next gen or the new gen's perspective, right? As I think we are always the troublemakers or things doesn't work out. So I think one of the things that I would advise to the remaining panelists, right, to those who have their kids or grandkids is have the difficult conversations earlier. Right, I think there's a massive issue with that where a lot of guys who I know who run family offices, they come to me and they're like, you know, my daughter's 26 or my son is 27 and he doesn't want to get involved. And I was like, well, when did you last speak to them about this, right? Well, okay, you're retiring now or you're restructuring now and now you want to get them involved. So have those hard conversations earlier and get them involved as early as possible. I started at 17, but I wish I started at 13, right? That's the only thing. But I can never say, like, my dad didn't get me involved in the property stuff that we had and the healthcare stuff he did until I was 24 and I exited at 54 million. That was the validation that, you know, he needed for me to begin, right? When I 10x the amount that he had. So I would say, you know, even if they're 14, 15, whatever, start nurturing them, start giving them that exposure. So when time comes, it's not all of a sudden that you don't have an heir who can take over, you know, what you've been building over the last, you know, 2, 3, 4 decades.
Thank you. Start with Candice. It's a challenging question. What do you think family office, keeping them at night, keep up at night, the challenge, the facing them. So what keeps up family office at night? They worry about what?
I mean, look, I think right now people worry about a lot of things. They worry about the war in Iran. They worry about the Straits of Hormuz. They worry about macro issues. They worry about AI and taking over society. So I think there's a lot of things that keep people up at night. And, you know, any one of those things can keep people up at night if you want to worry about them. I think the issue is, how do you solve them? Obviously, we're not going to solve the war in Iran. It's being held by geopolitics, but you can mitigate risk and have homes in different jurisdictions in case of a war or global war, which obviously, I think it obviously you're in the Gulf and you're in the middle of it and there's been a lot going on there. But I think, you know, if this thing works out, we might be closer to a peaceful situation for a while and that could be alleviated. So, but obviously, it's a concern. For the past 8 years, we've had a lot of things going on globally, and they've been fairly regional, but they could expand. And I think that's a concern for everyone. I think China's a concern for everyone if they decide to take over our society. And I know families in Australia, families in Europe, families in Latin America, and families in America are all equally concerned about that threat to their children's wealth and to the control that they're having globally on society. And I think probably if I was to pick a number one concern, it would be mitigating that risk for the future of the planet and the world.
Hadi, 2 levels. 1, your businesses, and 2, your family. Businesses, I can't stand inconsistencies. You know, people say, let's bring in investors, et cetera, that's strategic. I say, you don't have to do that, but make sure your board is very talented and knows the business. And I also recommend seasoned and reasoned people on your board. But, you know, boards are not just to give good news to. And your investors are not just to give good news to. They're the type of people that tell us about the smaller problem and let's solve it together now. And don't wait for it to be a major problem. So really talk to your people, entrepreneur, talk to the people around you, and don't always just pump them with sunshine. That's why when we first invest, we have a weekly meeting for an hour, and we want a written report. I know it sounds almost silly and back school, but we get a written report of what you accomplished this week and what you're doing next week. I know it sounds like spoon feeding. We do that for about 3 months, and then we let them off. We probably have 25 companies we're invested in. Probably 18 of them we've let off now. If the third baseman is fielding the ball and doing a good job, let him alone and talk to him maybe every 6 months or a year. But inconsistencies, you told us one thing and now it's happening the other, and or you don't know your numbers and you saw a small pattern and you let it develop into a big pattern. Pattern recognition, I talk about it all the time. Children, okay. Children, one thing I can tell you, as some of my friends out here know, just for like 2 or 3 months, years ago, my son and I were upset with each other. There's nothing that disturbed me more than my children being upset with me, and I do lose sleep over it. And there's an old adage, Hadi, that you probably know better than I do. It's better to be happy than right.
Sure.
So as the head of the family, cave in. I said to my son, we love Indian food. The oldest Indian restaurant in New York is X, Bengal Tiger, it doesn't matter. Let's go to lunch. It didn't matter who was right. It matters that we're happy together. And that's so, so important. So remember that expression. It's better to be happy than right. And with family, always try and deal with them in a way, try to be equal to each other, because one thing that builds resentment, Hadi, is when you treat one a lot better than the other. And so there's a balancing act that's really important inside your family. And with respect, my nephew has really become involved in our business. That's really important. Treat him fairly and equal, not perfectly equal, but balance it.
And maybe became like a shock observer, you know, to take ownership. Carol?
Yeah, that's so wise, very wise. It is better to be happy than to be right. But if you think about the times that we're living in, there's some analogies to the Dark Ages, right? We have marauding countries invading each other. We have a lot of backstabbing. We're back into the might makes right world versus impact and social justice world. Things have swung the other way. So how did our ancestors survive in that world? Well, most rich people back then built themselves a castle in Europe, for example. You can see those castles everywhere. Those castles had moats around them. They had watchtowers. So if you take that analogy of a castle with a moat and a watchtower, and that's how you protected the ones you loved who came in at night inside the castle walls, that means the watchtower, you have sources where you're looking out for what's going on in the world. I'll give you an example, Kroll, the largest security firm in the world. Some of you know I work with Kroll. They have data that a lot of the rest of us don't have on geopolitics, on movement of prices, on what's really happening with all this scam. So you get somebody like Kroll to start giving you advice, in addition to the banks who just want your money, because the business of Kroll is security. So you start getting watchtowers of information so you can see afar what is coming at you. And then your moat is having a lot of processes and procedures. Sometimes, if you look at the old castles, you've had to pass through 4 or 5 guards, 4 or 5 moats before you got to the family. And that is gatekeeping, gatekeeping, gatekeeping. And that's what the family office's first responsibility is to me. Keep out the riffraff, keep out the scammers, keep out the people that are going to harm your family. The amount of information about every person in this room on the dark web now would terrify you, and it gets sold by your maids, your gardeners, and maybe even your family office executives for $25. So Kroll will tell you stories that will curl your hair about how secure is anybody really in this AI age. So making security your top priority to protect the family and acknowledging what a scary time we live in, and then taking the steps like lots more cash and liquidity. That's why families all over the world are buying and stockpiling gold everywhere. They're not keeping gold in one place. They've got gold in Singapore, gold in Dubai, gold in Switzerland. Not in one place. Notice I didn't mention the United States. And so people are, getting more liquid. Even all the Bitcoiners that I know are switching to half gold, half Bitcoin. They're taking their USDT and they're buying gold. So making sure you have lots of liquidity, you have lots of security information coming in, and you have lots of gatekeeping and moats, security moats, before they can get to you and cause trouble is the best way, I think, in challenging times to sleep better, because otherwise you're just hoping nothing bad happens, and nowadays that's a fool's errand.
Thank you, Carol. Rowan?
Well, a lot of insightful advice has been given, but one thing that we all need to recognize, family office is a perpetual entity. That means if you want it to be perpetual. If you don't want it to be perpetual, then you find a way to essentially liquidate, allocate, and move on. A lot of the big, smart people have done that. You have seen some of the richest families have decided they need to separate the management of the assets over time from the actual giving side and the perpetualness. So if you don't think of it that way, if you consistently, because we all know the last 5 years, the next 5 years is not going to look at all like the last 5 years. What made you successful as a family in the last 5 years may not last. So if the road turns, you don't turn. You're off the road. And that's what's in today's world, we're living 10 years in 1 year, and very soon we're going to live 100 years in about 5 years. So with that in mind, I think you have to recognize that it's very difficult to design a perpetual vehicle today that would meet all your legacy questions. So in my view, when I looked at myself when I left at BlackRock at age 50 to become an entrepreneur, my mission was to create my next set of something that is going to last way beyond me. I couldn't do it by being an executive at a firm. I had to create something that is going to be perpetual, and that's where you need to really think about the businesses you're in. They're not isolated, they're integrated. They have to be integrated, they have to be addressing the global needs, and they have to thrive. If they don't thrive, you're not going to be able to meet your obligations to who are the constituents you're looking at. It's going to be very difficult to figure out what your family is going to look like 4 generations forward. I cannot figure out what's happening to a lot of families after 1 or 2 generations. So with that in mind, I really think you need to look at what are your options before you start trying to essentially replicate yourself in the new generation. That's not going to work. I assure you that. After you're not here, rules are going to change. And with that in mind, I really think you need to really look at it as where's the global opportunities, what do you want to do, and how do you make sure you're funding those global opportunities now?
Thank you. Kyle?
I was going to give you guys the professional business answer, but Kevin inspired me to give you my real thought on this, which is the presence for your children and your family, right? This is called a family office event. And for me, it's being present for my wife and for my kids. I have 3 little kids, they're 6, 4, and 2. And what keeps me up at night is all the business that I'm doing and all the money in the world. Yes, the screaming and crying and the baby monitor is also part of that. But when we're all one day on our deathbed, are we going to be thinking about, that deal we did 20 years ago? Are we going to be thinking about the money we did or didn't make, or that sale we did or didn't close? And are all these people that we're doing business with over the next 10, 20, 30 years going to be in that room with us? The answer is no. And excuse my language, but they really don't give a shit. It's the reality. And around that room, when you guys are all on our deathbed, it's going to be your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, maybe your great-grandkids. And that's really, I'm pretty young for where I am in life. That's what keeps me up at night. Is it worth going on that business trip to miss my 6-year-old dance recital? I don't know. But that's the reality. And in 10, 20, 30 years from now, every one of you would trade in the next 10, 20, 30 years to be where you are right now today. Every single one in this room. And so the big football player in me has an emotional side that says, am I doing right by my kids and setting them up for success in their life? And that's what keeps me up at night. So I'll just leave it there.
Thanks, Kyle.
I'm not really sure how to follow that up. Everyone took my amazing answers, so I think in short I would say same. But no, I think very similarly, I think, what keeps family offices up at night, it's 2 simple words, right? Family and the office itself. So looking after the family is the biggest thing. As many people on the stage pointed out, if the family's not together, does the money matter? And I think everyone here would agree, and the answer would be no. So I think, the family relationship that comes with it. The legacy that your family holds is the values that you are putting together now or were put together 20, 30 years ago. Are they going to hold together? And then on the office side, obviously, given what the macro or microeconomic situations are, how do you deal with them? AI is a massive thing. Just before that, it was AR, VR, blockchain was there. Before that, internet, and in the next 5, 10 years, there'll be the next thing, right? So keeping on top of trend, hiring the right guys, having the right people in the team, so you can sustain that. And from my personal perspective of, I guess, what keeps me up at night is to do right by my family, in the sense that I hope that, whatever they taught me over the years, that I'll make them proud and the name will carry on for eons. I think that's my thing.
Thank you. So we have almost 4 minutes. I give you 45 seconds for the last question. For family office to be successful and sustainable, what is the advice you can give for the remaining of 2026 and beyond? Candice?
What's the best piece of advice? I would say, and you need to be quick because we're running out of time. Probably, asset diversification. I mean, I think the families that do well over the years, if you look at it, there's a chart that people have, and it shows that every year a different sector outperforms. One year it's tech, one year it's commodities, one year. So I think if you're diversified, you're always going to do well for the next 10 years.
Thank you.
Word I have is diversify. Putting your eggs in one basket is not wise for longevity, in my opinion. We're involved in rare earth, we're involved in all sorts of crazy stuff, the clouds, inventor, et cetera. We diversify, not only in our family office investments, but our investments with our balance sheet. And we're in gold, we're in silver, we're in all sorts of things. And I find that diversification, don't be greedy. We're happy with certain returns that aren't dramatic, but at least they're consistent. And if you have too much in one category and it sort of gets shaky, a lot of things are going to be at stake for your family, your grandchildren, and your heirs. So be diversified. Think about how you can leverage your situation to really counterbalance a lot of risk. Because I've always said a lot. At one time, I was a lawyer in Greenwich, Connecticut, and Greenwich is an amazing place. So many people go up and go down, go up and go down. Well, the biggest challenge is to make the money, but it's an awful big challenge to sustain it and grow it. And make sure that you diversify in that growth pattern.
Thank you. Carol, please.
Yeah, I would say what we've heard, which is so true, is on the family side, that should be first. That's the first word. And love. Increase your love. Spend more time. Actually demonstrate love for the other people in your family, whatever that means and whatever they need. If it's a 3-year-old, be there at bedtime and tuck them in. Trust me, my 20-year-old does not want to be tucked in anymore. But that is a precious, precious memory that I will always treasure. And then on the office side, it's process, process, process. Have somebody like a consultant do a 360-degree evaluation of your family office if you think it's not as good as it could be. Just like you would of any other company, treat that like a business and make sure it has the right processes for security, for diversification, for reporting, educating the kids, leaving your impact in society or foundations, all the stuff that we've talked about. So love and process instead of love and basketball, unless you're a Knicks fan, in which case this week it's love and basketball.
Thank you. Rowan?
I guess I'm wearing on my sleeve, love is here and UN is here. I don't like the word sustainable. That means static. That means stability. I like regenerative. If you watch the movie Graduate, it was about plastic. But regenerative, the only way to survive multi-generational, you need to be regenerative. That means whatever organization you build needs to be able to rebuild itself as many times as necessary going forward. Give that a really serious thought because we are going through some choppy waters. None of our assumptions will hold going forward. And the first generation success will not repeat itself. And if you're going to stick to that, you're going to find that you're not serving the exact constituents that you're trying to do. Separate your giving from generation of wealth and impact in the larger sense. And I think that's where I ended up doing, and I think I'm very happy with doing that.
I would say involve your kids in everything that you do. I would say the education your children would get from being in a room like this, from being around you in business and seeing how you operate and who you work with would be the best thing for your family's legacy. What I always say is I usually bring my kids with me everywhere. I just red-eyed in from Arizona this morning, so it didn't happen. But bringing them here, bringing them involved, and the people I do business with, if my kids can't be involved or be around or be in the room, then I don't want to do business with you, because that's what's important to me. And sometimes, if some of you I've been on Zoom calls with my daughters will come in at 6 and 4 and they'll hop on, but if they interrupt my call, they have to come in and introduce themselves to everyone on the call. That's the rule, right? And so, Anthony, I would encourage you from now on, every delegate pass includes, you can bring your kids as part of it. So that's what I would say, right? But the kids have to pay, they still have to buy their own lunch. That's the rule.
So how about some M&Ms?
Yeah, there you go.
As long as they are above 15.
Yeah, it's like
We don't
15.
want-
What is the Disney
we don't
World?
want
15.
babies.
15 under eat free, or kids 5 and under.
I would say be proactive than reactive. I think oftentimes we try to react to trends which are happening. So have a set of rules, have your consultants in place, have those discussions early on, internally in the family as well as with the experts that you have. And then the biggest thing that I would say, and big congratulations to Anthony for putting these amazing events. First of all, big round of applause.
Thank you very, very much. We are ready for stomach. Okay, and if we can give one more for this interesting experience panelists, one more applause, please.